Alright guys, welcome back to another Oppa Omnia video where we're going to be talking about my updated top 10 must pulls for global players. Now, I did a video very similar to the one that you are about to see here about 4 months ago, talking about the top 10 must pull for global players, and most of the characters from my original top 10 list have released aside from 2 or 3. Now, one of them from my first video is mentioned once again on this video. Now, a few things that I do want to mention before we get into who I consider to be the next or the updated top 10 must pulls for global players. First off is going to be that my top 10 or this top 10 is once again not in order. The next thing is going to be that because this is my own personal takes on who I consider to be the top 10 must pulls for global players, this is going to be a very opinionated list. So there might be some players who may not agree with some of the choices that I am going to be mentioning in this video, which is perfectly fine. If you disagree with any of my choices, feel free to comment down in the comment section below. Let me know what characters you would either switch around, which one would you replace, whatever it is that you feel like you want to express and talk about, and let me know what you would actually change within my top 10 list. Please feel free to let me know down in the comments below. Also, I will be mentioning an honorable list towards the end of this video, talking about some of the other characters that are also really good characters, but in my opinion, I don't feel like they are in my top 10, but I will give a brief reason as to why they are not in my top 10. Now, because they are honorable mention, it doesn't mean that they are bad. It's just because the characters in my top 10 list are extremely good and extremely beneficial for a lot of future team comps. And you're gonna see as we start going through my top 10, you're gonna realize that some of these characters are some pretty freaking good characters to really consider pulling for us. So, as always, if you guys do enjoy the video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for future content, and again, feel free to let me know what you guys thinking about my top 10 must pulls for global players. Now, the first 3 characters that we are going to be talking about is going to be Kelger, Cissnei, and Yida. So we're going to start off with Kelger. Kelger is pretty freaking insane. This man has evasion within his kit, and guess what? Whenever it is the enemy's turn, he does a preemptive attack before the enemy acts. Also, it allows him to be able to counterattack every single time that the enemy misses Kelger. So because of that, you are going to be getting a good amount of preemptive attacks, you're going to be getting a good amount of counterattacks, and also the nice thing about it is that his BT effect allows him to trigger his preemptive attack one more time, meaning that you are going to be triggering it twice. Kelger is an extremely good and powerful character for what he does overall. He is a very strong unit. He does provide a good amount of selves. He is very much self-sufficient, and especially as long as you have that overhead active, you are going to be good to go, because like again, he's going to be able to counterattack whenever he evades attacks. And then also the other thing is going to be that he does not need a lock debuff to be inflicted onto the enemies, because one of the buffs that he grants to himself makes it so that it draws all of the enemies to attack him, and it also provides him with that evasion that he desperately needs to make his kit overall work. So in general though, for what he does as a character, for him basically being a counter tank, because of the fact that he does evade attacks and he does counter attack as well, he doesn't provide any type of damage mitigation to the team. But in general though, the fact that he is able to draw enemy attacks towards him basically means that most of your teammates are going to be safe, aside from like AoE attacks. Then that's going to be a different situation, but of course there are ways to get around that, to be able to mitigate that, so on and so forth. So overall, in general, overall, Kelger is extremely good. He is a very strong character. He is able to solo a lot of Shinyus. He is extremely good for the weekly Crystal Quest as well. Especially if you are trying to work, or if you are in the future, if you are trying to work on the red crystal characters, then Kelger will be an excellent choice to be able to solo a lot of Shinryu fights. This guy is a beast, and it is a highly recommended character that I would recommend a lot of global players pull, because what he does is extremely top tier. Like, he is really like super duper top tier, and I would recommend global players pulling for him. Next up, we're going to be talking about Cissnei. Now, Cissnei, many players are very familiar with Cissnei. She does provide a follow-up attack which deals 3 HP dumps in total, so long as you have her overhead at the maximum amount of stacks. The thing about it, though, is that with how Cissnei works, you basically are going to be spamming her LD until you run out of uses. And then afterwards, you're going to have to use her skill 1 and skill 2 to start increasing the stacks on her overhead, so that way you are able to gain more HP dumps on her follow-up attacks. But that does change, and it basically gets fixed, or temporarily gets fixed, so long as the BT effect is active, when she does obtain her BT weapon, because her BT weapon basically makes it so that the levels on her overhead do not decrease whatsoever. So if you are at level 3, it is going to stay at level 3. And the BT effect lasts for 6 turns. So you definitely got to make sure that you pair up Cissnei with speedy characters. If you have some sort of turn manipulation, you could do that as well. We also have a crystal ability that allows a character to gain additional turns, so that way Cissnei won't be able to gain or won't have a turn as quickly as if you did not use that crystal ability. So there are definitely some ways to be able to work so that way you can get continuous follow-up attacks from Cissnei. Now, that's not the only thing that her BT effect provides. Aside from the stacks not dropping, it also allows her to trigger her follow-up attack twice. So in total, you're going to be getting, so long as you are at max levels or max stacks, whatever you want to define it as, you will be dealing 6 HP attacks in total, and those HP attacks are some pretty strong HP attacks, and especially if they do trigger all of the time, then yeah, you are gonna be getting a very good amount of off-turn damage with Cissnei. So Cissnei overall definitely gets a very big upgrade, and with these strong follow-up attacks that she does provide, she is definitely a top 10 must pull for global players whenever they do decide to release her FR and her BT. Next up, we have Yida. Now, Yida got a monstrous rework, and when I'm telling you that she got damage, she got damage. Like, in terms of like DPS, in my personal top 3, she hit top 3 really easily, right behind Astos and Aranea, because of the insane damage output that this woman is able to dish out. And the BT effect just makes her damage output even stronger, making it so that she landed in my top 3 personal list of DPS characters. So basically, if we take a look at the rework that she recently got, with her HP dumps on the skill 1, 12 HP attacks. Her skill 2 is able to deal 9 HP attacks. Her EX ability, 8 HP attacks, because there is a plus version to it, and the same goes for her skill 1 as well. So we're going off of the highest amount of HP dumps that she is able to deal. Her LD ability, 12 AoE HP dumps. Her FR, basically, like, her FR conditions is extremely easy to be able to meet. While it is active, it does provide the party with a 50% HP damage up / HP damage cap up. The conditions: deal melee or use a melee ability, and then attack a broken, or if you are breaking a target, it will count towards the increasing the HP damage bonus. So overall, you'll be able to get up to 80% or higher. And I say 80% 40% or high because because we do have force level 50 on JP, the percentages actually do go up a little bit higher compared to what it is currently on global. Now, the biggest thing which makes her an insane DPS character is going to be the fact that basically, aside from the party auras that she does provide to the party, she actually gains way more party auras from her BT effect, and they go up very, very high. So to Yida herself, she at the start, right, with only 1 out of 3 stacks, because it is a stackable BT effect. So at 3 out of 3, she will be getting a 40% Brave damage up, 20% Brave damage cap up, 20% HP damage up, and then a 20% HP damage cap up. The party is going to be receiving a 50% Brave damage up, 20% Brave damage cap up, 20% HP damage up, and a 20% HP damage cap up. Now, of course, Yida does take advantage of those party auras, but you also have to consider the fact that she actually gains way more than what the party is going to be offering. So basically, how that is going to work is that for Yida herself, she is going to be gaining, like in total, a 80% Brave damage cap up, and that includes everything that we have already mentioned so far. And you can check this out on Dissidia Compendium if you want to. But yeah, she gains a 80% Brave damage cap up, a 100% HP damage cap up. Yeah, that's a fat HP damage cap up, and that's just from the BT effect, and a 100% HP damage up. So Yida is a monstrous DPS. Like, she is, like I said, she is in my top 3 personal DPS list because, like, her damage output, it really truly is in freaking insane. Like, literally right behind Astos and Aranea. Like, Astos is still top 1 DPS, and then Aranea is right behind Astos, but Yida is definitely number 3 in terms of DPS. So if you, let's say you want to play with a different type of DPS aside from Astos or Aranea, in the future, whenever they do decide to release Yida with a FR, BT, and a rework, best believe if you do decide to pull for her, yeah, she is going to be doing some numbers, she's going to be doing some damage, and you would not regret pulling for her. She is a beast. Now, following those 3 characters, we now have Arciela, Fujin, and Weiss. Now, let's go ahead and talk about Arciela. Arciela becomes a very strong support character, especially once she grabs her BT and her FR. She becomes great. Like, her kit in the past, like, is actually very nice to have because, like, the debuff from an LD basically makes it so that, like, if the enemy tries to grant a huge amount of Brave all of a sudden, yeah, Arciela is going to prevent that from happening. The other thing is going to be that she is able to inflict HP silence. She did have some party auras that she provided to the party, and then, you know, that's really about it. But now that she's going to be getting her FR and BT, that changes for Arciela, and Arciela becomes a very good support character. So if you take a look at her FR, what it does is that it basically heals the party by 80% of the individual's max HP, and the heals may exceed the target's max HP by 30%, and increases party's Brave by 600% of own attack. Now, there's no special effect while the FR is active, which is a bummer, but it definitely would have been a bigger plus for her. But what I like about her FR is that it is a very good FR because 1, it is instant turn rate. 2, the conditions on it are extremely easy to meet. The first one is a 40% increase after the party turn while an enemy does not have a buff, and a 40% increase after party turn while any enemy has a debuff. So Arciela is able to inflict debuffs. She also, with a brand new BT effect, does not allow the enemy to grant any buffs whatsoever. So, speaking of the BT effect, it lasts for 6 turns. Now, this is going to be based on the amount of debuffs on the target that you are attacking. So, if you take a look at it with a max of 8 debuffs currently active, basically, any debuffs that Arciela inflicts they will not decrease in turn. So that HP silence, yeah, that's always going to stay there. The LD debuff that she inflicts, that is also going to stay there. Also, it makes it so that, again, all enemies cannot grant any buffs whatsoever. Now, the other thing, aside from the normal party auras that most characters nowadays provide, is going to be that the party now deals, and remember, this is at 8 buffs max, or 8 debuffs max, excuse me. The party now deals 16% additional HP damage on HP attacks. So basically, aside from not letting the enemy act so long as that HP silence is active, also making it so that the enemies are not able to grant any buffs whatsoever. She also makes it so that everybody on the team is able to deal additional HP damage on HP attacks. Meaning that, let's say if you combine Arciela with Astos, best believe Astos is going to be dealing much more damage. And knowing how his damage output is, yeah, Astos is going to be dishing out a huge amount of damage because of that additional percentage that Arciela is providing to the party. So overall, in general, Arciela, a much stronger support character in the future, and she is definitely a must pull for global players just because of like what she does offer and what she is going to gain once she has her FR and her BT. Now for Fujin, Fujin became from what she used to be known as a big meme, especially after she got her FR. Like, her FR was straight up trash back in the day, but like now, with the rework that she got with her FR Echo and especially that nasty BT effect, she is a must-have whenever you are launching team comps, because she is able to provide so much more to everybody on the team. She is able to provide additional damage while you are in the chase sequence. She is able to provide additional damage whenever you are hitting the wall or whenever the enemies are hitting the wall. She makes it easier for everybody to be able to launch. And guess what? Her FR, it's not trash anymore. It's actually a really good FR. So basically, how she currently works right now is, aside from the additional HP dumps that she now has within her skills, her FR, while it is active, provides the party with an increase in Brave by 10% of the HP damage dealt once per turn. They also gain a 20% HP damage up and a 20% HP damage cap up, and this is active during a knockback per individual. Now, when it comes to the updated FR conditions, a 30% increase whenever a party member selects a win ability. Fujin is able to provide winning chance, so you're good to go on that. A 40% increase whenever Fujin initiates a knockback. A 40% increase whenever an ally initiates a knockback, and then a 20% increase after turn whenever an enemy is knocked back. Yeah, her FR is not trash. It is actually a really good FR now, especially in terms of percentages. Now, the BT effect. Now, this BT effect will depend on the amount of characters that are participating in the launch. So, to Fujin herself, she gains a 50% HP damage kappa. And by the way, her BT effect lasts for 8 turns. Now, depending on the amount of characters that are participating in the launch. So let's say if we have all 3 characters participating in the launch sequence, then aside from the damage that you are dealing, that you are smacking onto the enemy, you are going to be dealing an additional 25% additional HP damage bonus whenever the enemy hits the wall, so long as all 3 characters are participating in the launch sequence. The BT also makes it so that everybody on the party is able to launch. So yeah, it's basically like a selfie LD effect within Fujin's BT effect. The party gains a 50% Brave gains up, 50% HP damage up, 20% Brave damage cap up, 30% HP damage cap up, and a 50% gained Max Brave overflow up. So yeah, Fujin is going to be the #1 character that, if you're going to be making a team comp focusing on launching the enemy, you want Fujin in that team comp because you are going to dish out even more damage. And it doesn't have to be specifically in a launching team comp. Like, again, we're going to be using Astos as an example, but like there have been a lot of JP players who have combined Fujin and the launching capabilities and the additional HP damage that you gain while in the launch and whenever they hit the target or whenever they hit the wall, combining Fujin with Astos and another character that can potentially increase the damage output for everybody in the team even more, then yeah, those damage numbers become freaking insane. Like Fujin, again, she used to be such a meme because of how like doo-doo her kit was, and especially with that FR. But like now with the rework that she will be getting in the future for global with the BT, the FR, man, you cannot skip out on this character. She is extremely top tier and a definite must pull, especially if you enjoy launching the launching team comps. Next up is going to be Weiss. Now, with Weiss, I have talked about him in my first video covering the top 10 characters that global players should be pulling for. And I'm bringing him up again because seeing as how he is going to be dropping this month on global, I want to remind players of how good of a character that he is and how he is still very much viable in the JP side even till this day. But basically, to sum him up, because I'm going to be talking about him a whole lot more whenever I do my should you pull video on him, basically what he does is that he does a preemptive attack on his turn and on everybody's turn. He also does a follow-up attack, but only on his turn, and that's about it. When you take a look at his FR conditions are good for on-turn and off-turn increases, because whenever you are combining Weiss with melee characters that are able to deal off-turn triggers, then the party will be increasing it by 5%, but to himself it is going to be a 15%. And then the final condition is a 40% increase after party turn whenever inflicting or attacking a target afflicted with break. So the force conditions are very easy to meet and you can easily increase them pretty quickly. The BT effect is a really good BT effect. It does last for 6 turns. Basically what this BT effect does is that whenever the party is dealing max brave cap HP damage, so HP damage cap up damage, they are going to be dealing additional fixed HP damage by 10% of the HP damage dealt. Now this is different compared to fixed HP damage, which is solely focused on the current HP damage cap for that character. This is going to be based on the total HP damage that you are going to be dealing overall, meaning that it will definitely be higher compared to HP damage cap levels that everybody currently has, or I guess like the specific character that is that its turn is. So yeah, the damage output while his BT effect is active will be much higher compared to those who just solely focus, like for example, like General Leo, like Luna Freya and that buff that she provides, the heavy prayer buff that she provides to the party. Those are going to be based on the current HP damage cap. Again, this one is different because this one focuses on the total HP damage per HP damage that you are going to be dealing. Now, the other nice thing about this is that the party cannot be debuffed, and this includes cannot miss debuffs. This is actually a very strong convenience, meaning that basically like you just can't get debuff whatsoever while his BT effect is active. Now it does provide the usual like BT party ores that every other BT effect nowadays provides, so it's not really something that should be covered at the moment. But basically if you want yourself a character that is able to that is able to deal preemptive attacks on everybody's turn. He does gain an additional follow-up attack on his own turn. Then Weiss is a very good character to consider pulling for, and a character, again, that is still very much viable to this day on JP. Next up on the list, we have Kadaj, we have Selh'teus, and we also have the recently new character on JP, Amarant. So we're going to start off with Kadaj. Now, Kadaj, you'd actually be surprised on how JP players really enjoy Kadaj now. Like seriously. In all seriousness though, I know that maybe some players may not be all that about Kadaj or anything like that, but like for him being a pretty good debuffer and the increase in damage output, like, and the new FO and BT that he just recently, or not recently, but he got not too long ago, yeah, Kadaj is actually very, very good. Now, basically what it is that aside from the increase in HP dumps, one key thing to note about that is that his follow-up attack on his own turn now deals 6 HP attacks to the target, so long as you are attacking somebody or attacking a target with the fixation debuff at max level 5. So that is a very good amount of HP dumps that it is going to be dealing. Now, when we take a look at the FR conditions are very easy to meet. While it is active and you are attacking an enemy that has at least one debuff, which Kadaj is able to inflict debuffs, so that's not gonna be an issue whatsoever, the party receives a 50% HP damage up / HP damage cap up. Now the conditions, a 40% increase whenever a teammate uses a melee ability, and a 40% increase whenever you are attacking a target with a level debuff. Again, Kadaj is able to provide that, so you'll be good to go. So you can easily get 80% or higher depending on what abilities you're going to be using. Now the BT effect is where it's at. Now the BT effect lasts for 6 turns. Now basically, what this does for Kadaj is that the fixation stacks on that debuff does not decrease whatsoever, and it allows you to be able to inflict that debuff and let it remain at the level 5 stacks to all targets. So if it is already inflicted on one target and you want to inflict it on the other one, well, guess what? You can do that now. Now, the other thing about this is going to be that now it also triggers his follow-up attack whenever anybody on the team attacks anybody with that fixation debuff, so long as it is at 5 stacks. Meaning that whenever anybody is attacking anybody with that debuff, then it is going to trigger that 6 HP dump follow-up attack. Now, one final thing to note about that is going to be that on Kadaj's own turn, because of the fact that it is going to be triggering for the party, that also includes Kadaj. So that means that with Kadaj, on whatever skills that he uses, the first follow-up is going to trigger, and then a second one is going to be triggering. That is 12 HP attacks on the target that you are going to be attacking. Yeah. That is a lot of damage for follow-up attacks on his own turn. And not only that, but the fact that it also triggers on everybody else's turn is a really great add-on. Yeah, it's not AoE damage, but you really have to think about it though. Because of the fact that this does trigger on everybody's turn, that is 6 HP dumps that is basically going to be spread about between everybody. So it's not really that big of a deal when you really look at it and like literally say and compare it to other follow-up attackers. 6 HP dumps is a lot for a follow-up attack. So Kadaj definitely becomes viable in JP. I do still see a good amount of Japanese players use Kadaj a good amount. You know, if it might not be like for every single match, but like in general, overall, like for how Kadaj performs now in JP, yeah, he is definitely a must pull for global players, and you would not be disappointed. Like honestly, like if you don't look at him, if you don't look at how he looks like, or if you don't just think about him in general, and you just think about how he performs overall, yeah, Kadaj can definitely do work for you, and I would highly recommend players to consider pulling for him in the future. Next up we have Selh'teus. Now Selh'teus is a really good support character. Like, he does provide a good amount of party auras, and even after you have his BT effect active, his party auras are actually not that bad. And the thing is though, with Selh'teus, one main difference between him and other support characters, even though yes, support characters nowadays are able to deal a very good amount of damage, but Selh'teus takes that to another level. So basically, if you take a look at his FR conditions, very easy to meet. Just be fully healed, 40% increase, and use a magic ability, 40% increase. So you'll be able to get about an 80% or higher onto the HP damage bonus. Now, if you take a look at the BT, his BT effect is basically just giving the party brave gains up, brave damage cap up, HP damage up, and HP damage cap up. But that is not the only thing that it is able to provide. So it does inflict a debuff called Luminous Lance. What this does is that it provides HP poison by 1% of Selh'teus' HP. It has an HP damage resist down by 30%, a 30% defense down, and it prevents the enemy from acting. Very, very, very good debuff. Now, the other thing that I do want to mention that he gains from this BT effect is that he does gain a change HP command. Now, this HP command deals 11 AoE full HP dumps. Now, his LD is able to deal 10 AoE full HP dumps. So the fact that he now gains another ability that does 11 AoE HP dumps is really good, especially when you take a look at other support characters who is able to deal a good amount of damage compared to Selh'teus. Selh'teus' damage output overall is really, really good, and it's definitely top tier 100%. So overall, in general, like Selh'teus, in terms of support, in terms of being a pain in the butt with that gold frame debuff that he inflicts whenever you activate his BT effect, and the damage output that you get out of this man, yeah, his overall kit in general is a very good one to really consider pulling for. Next up we have Amarant. Now, Amarant recently joined the JP side, but there is a lot to this character that I really do like, because you do have different play styles that you can actually play with Amarant. So like Amarant, you can play as if any other normal DPS character, because of the fact that he does trigger a follow-up attack. Now, the thing about him in general is that his overhead is very important, because of the fact that whenever you have it under 2 levels, he is going to be dealing single target damage. But if you have it at 2 or higher, that changes from single target to AoE, meaning that the very high amount of HP dumps that this guy has within his kit is going to be all AoE damage, so long as that overhead is at 2 stacks or higher. Now, the other thing that I like about Amarant is that you can also treat him in a way, not entirely as a tank, but you can treat him in a way that you make everybody attack Amarant, because Amarant, whenever he gets attacked, he does trigger a counter attack. Now, his follow-up attack and his counter attack, whenever you have 2 levels or higher on his overhead, is able to deal 5 HP dumps, whether it be single target or whether it be not whether it be single target. I mean, whenever it is higher than 2 stacks, it will be 5 HP dumps in total, and it is going to be AoE damage. But if it is below 2, then it is going to be single target, but the damage gets reduced with only 2 HP dumps in total. So a very good DPS character, and I like the fact that you can actually play 2 different roles with Amarant, whether you want people to attack him, or if you just want him to act like a normal DPS character, you can do that as well. Now, when it comes to his FR, with Weiss being his partner, the FR conditions, they are very easy to meet, so long as you have an active special buff, which is going to be an overhead 40% increase, and then after the turn, while a party member has any buff or special effect, at least at level 0, then it increases by 40%. So another FR that is able to increase by 80% or higher. Now, the BT effect. this BT effect is a pretty good BT effect. Actually, it's not even a pretty good BT effect. It is a good BT effect. Now, basically what this does is that this BT effect, it makes it so that the levels on this overhead does not decrease whatsoever. And this BT effect is what provides him with his counterattacks whenever he gets hit with a Brave or HP attack, and it'll counterattack with that power throw counterattack. So with that being said, it does again open up the possibilities of being able to treat him a little bit differently. Whether you want enemies to be able to attack him to not only trigger his counterattack whenever he gets hit, but of course he'll still be able to continue hitting enemies with that follow-up attack on his own turn, then you can do that as well. Or again, you can just play him as a normal DPS character, and if by chance you get hit with an AoE attack, then hey, guess what? You're gonna be triggering his counterattack as well. Like, he actually plays pretty good with tanks, and even those like tanks where like you know that the enemies are going to be hitting you with AoE attacks, then yeah, having him next to a tank would actually not be a bad idea, because he has no way to be able to manipulate for targets to be able to attack him. So you had to use a call ability to be able to direct attacks to Amarant. Or again, if you know that they're going to be dealing AoE damage, then you don't have to do that whatsoever. So yeah, I like Amarant as a character because of the fact that he is able to basically play like two different styles in a way. But overall, in general, like, his damage output is extremely good for him being a DPS. If you have his BT effect active, if you have his levels at 2 or higher, best believe his damage output is going to be very, very good, because the skill 1 is able to deal 6 AoE HP dumps, again, so long as it is at 2 or higher. Oh, one other thing to note is that he is a good FR charger as well. So he is able to increase the force gauge. His EX ability, 9 HP dumps in total. His LD ability, 8 HP dumps in total. So yeah, he definitely has the damage output behind him. So yeah, he is definitely a very strong character, and I would highly recommend, at least from what I have played with him off screen so far, yeah, he's definitely a must pull for a lot of players, just because, again, like, for him being a DPS, and I know we have DPS here and there and whatnot, but like his DPS or his character in general, last time I'm gonna say it, you can play with him with 2 different ways. And finally, the last character is going to be Irvine. Now, some of you guys may question my decision as to why I decided to put him in my top 10. The thing is though, like, with the overall utility that he has within his kit, and the fact that he is an excellent choice for a strong support character when it comes to range units, Irvine is a very strong choice to really consider pulling for a couple of reasons. Again, he has a lot of utility within his kit. His damage output definitely gets upgraded, which is what he desperately needed for the longest time. But his biggest pro is going to be with his BT effect. So his BT effect lasts for 8 turns. Now, if you are a fan of using range units, if you prefer to use range units, or if you see yourself using range units in the future, then Irvine would be an excellent character to have, because his BT effect makes it so that anybody who uses a ranged ability will be able to deal capped Brave damage during Brave attacks, meaning that whatever amount of highest amount of Brave damage that you are able to deal, then Irvine, so long as it is a ranged Brave attack, will be able to help you out and deal the highest amount of Brave damage that you possibly can, meaning that you are going to be basically capping on the amount of HP damage that you are going to be dealing overall. The party is going to be gaining a 50% Brave damage up, a 50% Brave damage cap up, a 20% HP damage up, and a 30% HP damage cap up. Now, here is the other lovely thing that you will actually gain from this BT effect. If you are going to pair him with ranged units, guess what? You are going to be gaining even more party ores because of the fact that you are using ranged units alongside with Irvine. So, the 50% Brave damage up, if you are using a ranged unit, add another 10% to that. The Brave damage cap up, 50% for everybody. But for range units, add another 30% to that. That's 80% right there. HP damage up 20%. For range units, an additional 20%. 40%. That's really good. And then finally, the HP damage cap up. 30% for the party overall, but for range units, it's going to be an additional 20%, being a 50% HP damage cap up. Now, the reason why, another reason why I decided to put him in my top 10 must pulls is not only because of the fact that he is able to support ranged units or range brave attacks, range abilities, whatever, but the thing is though, like, seeing as how Irvine is one of the first characters that is able, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I do believe I am right on this, but because he is able to help out in ranged units, this opens up the door for hopefully a character in the future that will do something very similar or the exact same thing as Irvine, but for melee units and then for magic units. So Irvine is an extremely good support character in terms of being able to help out your ranged units, and there are a good amount of ranged units, especially as we start progressing on the global side. There are going to be some ranged units that are going to be releasing, and so Irvine would actually be a really good pick to consider pulling for, just because of that strong utility, that strong support that he is able to provide for ranged units. Now, again, this may be a controversial pick for him being the last one, and that's the reason why I put him on the last spot, because this one is a little bit open to change, and I feel like some players are going to be changing this specific choice of mine. But like I said, he does provide a good amount of stuff. When you take a look at his kit, if you have seen some gameplay, you'd actually be surprised on what he is able to do. And he's actually, oddly enough, a pretty good FR charger, even though he is limited with 4 uses on his LD, because his LD is able to charge up the gauge 4 times, but it does provide him with those change brave and HP commands, which those did get upgraded as well. So in a way, he is able to charge up the force a little bit, but overall in general though, Irvine, a very, very, very good support / utility character for what he does offer. Now, before we end this video off, I do want to mention some honorable mentions. Now, these characters, I do have my reasons as to why I didn't include these characters in my top 10. It's just because of the fact that, well, I mean, honestly, it's not that they are bad or anything like that. It's just that with my type of play style and how I normally play, like, I like those characters that are unique in a way. Some of these characters that I have chosen in my top 10 are characters that I can definitely see a lot of global players being able to take advantage of because of what they do actually have to offer. Now, some of the characters that you see on the screen right now, like Jill, Ignis, Lena, Reno, Orin, Anna Crow, and then No once again appeared. He was originally in my top 10 from my first video, but now he is actually an honorable mention. Now, these characters right here, again, they are definitely very strong characters. They definitely have their uses and whatnot, but like, these are like some of these characters where I kind of like they have their uses, but like I would actually much prefer to use some of these other characters, like some of the characters that I have mentioned in my top 10 video over some of these characters. But these characters right here definitely have some unique stuff to them as well. But again, I would much rather prefer use some of the characters that I have mentioned in my top 10. Jill, very good character, very good DPS character. Like, she actually is a very strong character overall. Definitely with that BT effect, basically makes it so that the overhead, or basically her pet in quotations, does not it'll disappear, but it'll come back automatically. And in between that, when you have the force ability active, you actually gain an increase in the HP damage bonus whenever her pet does reappear on the field. So yeah, you do get a good amount out of Jill. Ignis got a very strong damage upgrade. He did gain himself a very strong follow-up attack as well, and with him being a very strong force charger, he does get a very strong upgrade, and he becomes so much better. Lena, one of the biggest things about Lena, on top of like the strong support that she has, is the very insane amount of HP overflow that she offers to the team. She does drop with Leviathan Spiritus, and Lena is definitely like she's very, very good for what she does offer overall, and she's gonna be like super duper like she's gonna be great for that fight. Let's just put it that way. But as we get closer to her release, whenever they do decide to release her, I'll explain why. But Lena like becomes so much better with her FR and her BT. Reno, the BT that he does gain, excuse me, basically bases so that he delays himself and the party, so you can actually do some pretty fun shenanigans with that BT effect and the change HP command, I believe is what it is, that he does gain while his BT effect is active. So Rena is another good character. On very strong counter tank, of course. I mean, everybody knows that by now. I know a lot of players on Global is definitely waiting for him. He is very good with his brand new BT effect and his FR. The BT effect especially because every time that on counter attacks, it does increase his stacks on his BT effect, and with that, with increasing those stacks, every time that you pass 3 stacks, it resets and it adds an additional use to his brand new change HP command. And a Crow's BT effect, I like the fact that it's able to party-wide enchant the 2 elements that she is that is needed, that is necessary for her FR conditions. And not only that, but basically her effect basically rounds up your damage. There's a whole lot more to it, but basically you'll be able to squeeze out a little bit more damage while having her BT effect active. And then finally with No is with his FR specifically, basically makes it so that everybody on the team is able to consistently break over and over and over again. And if you saw my recent gameplay where I used No with Dorgon, then yeah, it's a very strong combo overall that you can actually take advantage of with his FR. So yeah, these are my honorable mentions. Again, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, this top 10 list, it is not in order. 2, some players may disagree with my choices for this top 10 list, but again, the way that I see it is just going based off of my experiences using these characters and how I feel like they would actually benefit other players. And then 3, I don't know what 3 is, but I feel like there's a 3 and I've already forgotten. I more than likely will probably add it in a pinned comment. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much my updated top 10 must pulls for global players. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I'm curious to see what you guys think overall. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one.